It's a new year and a new chance for you to make a fresh start with your compliance. For the next 31 days on the FCPA Compliance Report, we're going to be bringing you a daily tip, strategy, or idea that you can use to improve your program. Here's your host, Tom Fox, the Compliance Evangelist.
Policies on political contributions. The FCPA states, quote, "The FCPA's anti-bribery provisions apply to corrupt payments made to any foreign official, any foreign political party or official thereof, any candidate for foreign political office, or any person, while knowing that all or a portion of the payment will be offered, given, promised to an individual falling within one of these categories." Although the statute distinguishes between foreign official and foreign political party and official thereof, and any candidate for office, the term foreign official in this guide generally refers to an individual falling within these three categories, end quote. Government policies affect the commercial environment. A company is subject to legislation and regulation that affects how it conducts its business and generates values for its investors. Participating in the political process is part of a business strategy to protect a company's interest. Most international businesses have strategy to engage in the political process with a view to long-term interests of the company and to promote and protect its interests. All political contributions and expenditures on behalf of the company and management on these political contributions should be reported to the board of directors annually. No political contribution may be made or promised unless written pre-approval has been obtained from the corporate compliance function. Among the factors that influence which candidates merit political donations are key support for company policies and public policy initiatives, the candidate's voting record and leadership options, a candidate's commitment to the company's industry's growth and the ability to positively impact its goals, company assets or employees in a region or state represented by the candidate. All political contributions should be made in accordance with applicable laws and regulations and disclosed as required by law. Any requests for contributions to a political candidate, committee, or party must be addressed to the corporate compliance function and must include an analysis of the four factors above, as well as a business justification to request the support of a particular candidate, committee, or party. Additionally, no company funds or other assets should be used for political contributions outside the U.S. unless expressly approved in writing by corporate government affairs function. A company employee seeking approval for political contributions outside the U.S. must present your corporate government affairs in writing with all relevant information to allow for a thorough and careful analysis. Among the information required by the compliance function or corporate affairs function should be the name of the candidate, committee, or political party, the government agency with which the candidate is or has been affiliated, the candidate's key positions on issues that affect the company's business, the candidate's voting record on the issues affecting the company, whether the company does business with a government entity with which the candidate is seeking a position, and the amount of such business in the preceding 24 months, any pending or recently awarded contracts with the government entity with which the candidate is affiliated or is seeking a position, any pending or recently awarded contracts overseen or managed by the committee, party, or political entity for which the political contribution is sought. And finally, the business justification for making the political contribution. Your company policy should prohibit politically exposed persons from exerting pressure or undue influence over your employees, agents, consultants, or representatives to make personal contributions. Your policy should prohibit the use of the company's resources or assets, including work time, to support candidates or campaigns. In the course of employment, politically exposed persons should be prohibited from engaging in any activity on a company's behalf that is intended to influence legislation, rulemaking, or government policy or engage lobbyists or others to do so without pre-authorization of the corporate compliance function. Political contributions should not be used to disguise a payment that is prohibited under the company's code of conduct, anti-corruption policy, or any other policy or procedure. If your company's policy prohibits the payments in another form, it shall not be made under the guise of a political contribution. No employee should utilize third parties or their own personal funds to make a payment that cannot be made under a company's policies and procedures. And finally, if there are any exceptions to any of this, it should be approved by the board of directors. So what are today's 3 key takeaways? Well, number 1, you always have to remember that political candidates are covered by the FCPA. This means if you intend to influence a political campaign, you can certainly make a donation to a candidate, but you cannot do so if that candidate is going to be elected to a position where later that candidate would oversee your ability to obtain or retain business, get new contracts, get payments made, or anything else that would fall afoul of the FCPA. Number 2, as in every other payment to a third party, you need to consider what's the business purpose for the political contribution. Is it to put forward candidates which support your position? Certainly nothing wrong with that. That's a well-honored and well-honed strategy in American business, and it's not going to go away. Political money is the oil of politics. It's the oil of politics everywhere, and political donations are always going to occur. And finally, don't forget about how it's going to look if you make contributions towards candidates who can award you business. Not create a more favorable area or district or environment to do business, but someone who can award you business. That's where you're going to get into trouble under the FCPA, and that's where the Department of Justice and SEC will look askance. I hope you will enjoy the entire month on written standards, and that you will listen in again where we explore another topic in the month of September. If I could ask you to do, would you pass on to at least one person this podcast series on the nuts and bolts of compliance, as I'm trying to expand my audience base for 31 Days to a More Effective Compliance program. I hope you'll join me again tomorrow where I take up another topic in innovation in compliance. Thanks again for listening. 31 Days to a More Effective Compliance program is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network. This is Tom Fox again. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of 31 Days to a More Effective Compliance program. 31 Days to a More Effective Compliance program is a production of the Compliance Podcast Network.